I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit ignition.
And then...
And then nothing. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite.
Look out! Look out!
And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Sports is live and local every Saturday from 11 to 1.
Kawhi, him and his free agency, or him just sitting around waiting to sign with the team, had a lot to do with more than just the Lakers. There were other teams that were tied into this trade as well to determine their next moves. And for the Lakers, they still haven't finalized the Anthony Davis deal.
Sports Call with Jordan Glass and Davis Allen on your radio, on Facebook, and YouTube.
Southern California basketball is going to be what everybody's paying attention to this upcoming season.
At ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Welcome to Mo!
Okay, hi, what are we doing today?
I need something that screams something fun. Nothing too on the face, nothing too off the face, but also totally hot.
So I have the perfect thing. It's the Mo's food mullet. You're totally business in the front, but tailgate in the back. It's a fat party. People are having fun. You know, snap. All your friends are going to be like, whoa, awesome setup. Everyone else is going to be all jelly, okay?
Just like a killer mullet, Mo's Catering will turn the back of your ride into a tailgate party that's sure to turn some heads. Just order ahead and pick it up on your way.
Mo's Southwest Grill, now open in Pace on Highway 90 next to Publix grocery store.
Remember those summer adventures as a kid on two wheels? Cutting loose with your buddies, enjoying freedom on those endless summer nights? Make new memories this summer with Harley-Davidson of Pensacola's Bikes, Brews, and Balls event. This Saturday, Harley's Angels will be serving up free meatball subs and drinks. Owning a Harley is easier and more affordable than ever. Discover your inner child again with the freedom that owning a Harley brings. Harley-Davidson of Pensacola, let's ride.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brilliante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
All sports, all the time. ESPN Pensacola, 94.5 WYCT Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
And a happy Thursday. Welcome into the program, Talk Football with Coach K. I am Joe Ford, your host, and Coach K, not in studio, but is joining us remotely today. Coach, how are you this morning? Getting some work done at the house, but still making time for us.
Yeah, you bet. A lot, but a couple of things came up that really I've been trying to get fixed for a week and a half. But as usual, you can't get people the right place at the right time, so I'm having to see it through because it could cost me some money with the adjusters coming by to take pictures. So I'm having to get this finished up, and I'm sure you will understand.
Absolutely. The master of all trades, so handling the radio duties and the duties at home. So, Coach K, glad to talk to you as always. And as always, now we're into training camp. A lot more teams reporting to open their 2019 NFL seasons today. And among those teams, the Eagles, the Patriots, the Texans, and the New Orleans Saints all starting their 2019 seasons. And we talked at length yesterday about a couple of high-profile holdouts. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time going over this today, as I think we both said all that needed to be said. But a couple of names that will interest people, of course, from the New Orleans Saints, local team, and arguably one of their biggest offensive weapons. Michael Thomas is not reporting to camp today, as he would like to be the highest paid wide receiver in the National Football League. Coach, hard to argue that he hasn't earned it in his first 3 years.
Well, it's hard to argue that anyone, because of, for whatever reason, should be the highest paid of any group. Now, what happens when somebody passes you by? Have they disrespected you in some way? It's ridiculous. Sure, you want to push for more money. They all want to push for more money, and the money amounts are quite ridiculous, as you and everybody else well knows at this point. But I can see it in one respect, but I certainly don't agree with it, and I have a problem with, unless I'm the highest paid guy, you disrespected me. That doesn't fly too well. Talking about teams coming in, something that we started to chat about a couple of days ago, and maybe it was longer than that, Joe. But a team that I'm pretty high on coming into camp this year, the Minnesota Vikings. High on in this respect. I think they have all the makings of a very, very good football team. And with the changes that they've had in the off season, I really feel like they're in position to maybe go all the way. When you look at this football team, Joe, they were a good football team anyway. But then they bring in Gary Kubiak as in essence, the offensive coordinator. I'm sure he will be. He's considered a contributor now, or consultant. But he's the expert on this zone run style offense, which really fits Kirk Cousins. And it's something he ran in Washington. Plus, it makes for great play-action passing, and is really right in the area of their strength. Because I felt like they got the best offensive lineman in the draft in the Garrett Bradbury, the center from North Carolina State, and they've made a couple of. That's enabled them to move the guy who was playing center, Elfin, last year over to left guard, which helped that position. And then they got the ex-Tennessee Titan, Josh Klein, who is better at the right guard spot. So they've helped themselves, I think, and with this particular style of play, I think that's going to enhance their chances as well. And then when you look at their receivers, Joe, you got Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. They combined for over 2,500 yards in receiving last year. Both are true number one type receivers. So I really think, and then Kyle Rudolph is a good tight end, and the rookie that they got in the second round from Alabama, Irv Smith, is going to be a fine tight end, in fact, a very, very good tight end, Pro Bowl type tight end.
Well,
and Mike Zimmer, here's the other thing too. One other point. Mike Zimmer, the head coach, is an outstanding defensive coach. Was always made his name as a defensive coordinator. This enables him to go back with Kubiak being there now. I think he can put more on and go back to defense, handling that defense, and I think they'll be more aggressive and really will play better defensively. I tell you, this is a football team you better watch. Minnesota Vikings they've got good personnel, good talent, and I think they've got good coaching there, and they're ready to make a break on it.
Listening to Talk Football with Coach K. If you want to weigh in on anything we're talking about, the number 972-1945. You can call or text us, or you can comment on our ESPN Pensacola Facebook page. Coach, as a Vikings fan, you are you're singing to me. You're speaking music to my ears, because last year it was a really frustrating year for the Vikings, coming off of a year where so close to a Super Bowl that would have been played in their home stadium. They come back and really regressed across the board, except for the production that they got out of their wide receivers. But as you've alluded to, I don't think that the Vikings really want to play that way. They have a running back in Dalvin Cook, who obviously the local fan base will certainly know and appreciate. I kind of think as he heads into year 3 now that this may be a year, a make or break type of year for him, because he's had injury concerns. We've seen flashes of what he can do, but again, not all his fault, because as you said, the offensive line was so bad last year. And as we talked about yesterday with the Indianapolis Colts, you have a coaching staff in Mike Zimmer. He's got the defense down. He's got all of the offensive weapons that Kirk Cousins could need, and now he's going after the one area that they really set them back last year.
Yeah, and I think they're going to run. They're going to run coming off the bus when they get to the stadium. I mean, this is going to be a run-first, play good defense, good special teams type football team. That's the way they're designed, really. And they're designed to play in that climate up there, which is another positive for having the zone-type run game. But you've got to play games in Green Bay and Chicago late in the year. You know, you got to be able to run football, and I think Zimmer knows that. They're going to be a very good football team. I really see them coming on. Plus, don't forget, they've got some pretty good defensive players over there with of course, all-world safety Harrison Smith and. And, they got some pretty good defensive players to line up and play as well.
And one of the things that we're going to talk about today, and this really leads perfectly into it, is The Athletic put out an article talking about the case for a wide-open NFC. You know, we look at the AFC really since the turn of the century, and there's really only been a handful of teams that you could kind of put your pencil into the Super Bowl. The Patriots, the Steelers, the Colts for so long with Peyton Manning. And then occasionally you'd have another team maybe make some noise, but it's really been a small handful of teams. The NFC, on the other hand, this according to Shael Kapita out of The Athletic, says the NFC has had 12 different teams make it to the Super Bowl since the year of 2000. The only teams not making it so far, the Cowboys, Lions, Vikings, and Washington. And he is making the argument, and I completely agree, that of the 16 teams out of the NFC, I'd say 11 have a legitimate chance to see themselves in the Super Bowl this coming year. A wide-open NFC is what we can expect, and the Vikings are really the first one. When you talk about the favorites, the Rams, the Saints, the Eagles, probably those top 3 teams there, the Vikings are probably in that group a little before them, but they do have the one thing that none of the other teams above them do, and their identity is on the defensive side of the ball. And when you're playing in the playoffs, when you're playing late in the season in the cold weather, that can make all the difference.
Yeah, it certainly can, and they're going to be, as I said, there's no question in my mind, they're going to be a strong running football team, play action pass, play great defense, good, sound special teams. And, you mentioned the teams there, the Rams, the Saints, the Eagles. I agree with those totally, but I think Minnesota's right in that same mix. In fact, I would even put Minnesota at this point a little ahead of the Rams there. So I think they're all in the same mix, and I think there will be quite a few teams that people will feel are competing in the NFC, competing for at least playoff contention.
And in the time we have left. And in the time that we have left of this segment, Coach, let's just kind of break down a little bit of those top three contenders with the Vikings there mixed in. The Los Angeles Rams, they will open their training camp on Saturday, the 27th. So they're one of the few teams that maybe the only team that's not in training camp by the end of the week this Friday. But, Coach, they are the favorite to get back to the Super Bowl, one of the favorites anyway. Hard for me to imagine that their offense will be firing as well as it did last year, but with Sean McVay, you never know. And as a coach, I'm really curious to get your insight on Sean McVay and just how rare of a breed he is to be that successful at such a young age.
Well, it is. It's an anomaly, that's for sure. It's something that's very, very unusual. I give him a lot of credit. I think he did a great job. I think he did a great job in putting his staff together. I mean, you go out and get Phillips as the defensive coordinator. He's been around for a long time, and is going to give you a good defense regardless. And plus, he's there to lean on in other cases that might come up off-field type situations that he's had experience with, and Wade Phillips can give him advice there. Now, here's something I think that one reason I think that they're going to slip a little bit this year. I give them a lot of credit for what they did. They really did a great job. But a lot of their passing game, and I think the blueprint was nailed to them in the Super Bowl. The NFL, keep in mind, are the great. It's a league of people who copy anything that's done that is productive. You can bet they're gonna copy it, whether it's the type coach you have, the type system you're running, all the some other minutia. But at any rate, I think the things that you got to be careful of with the Rams. They got away with throwing an awful lot of max protection, play action pass, two-man route patterns, meaning they only released two people from the line of scrimmage. Now, the Patriots ate that up in the Super Bowl. They had nobody open. The other thing that they did, they played with a smaller, faster linebackers, which is great for the norm. But when you play a team that would get in an old 1960s offense and put a fullback and tight end and two receivers and a quarterback, like you used to see in the 1960s, and line up and come right at you with that fullback and tight end, and slam and bleed and trap situations that you haven't seen, you haven't been accustomed to, and you got to take on those big guys with those smaller linebackers. It's tough, especially when they can't get an 8-man box up there. If they get an 8-man box, it helps them, but you can't do that all the time when you got a Tom Brady at quarterback. So they really put together a blueprint that others are going to follow in playing the Rams this year.
And the other note, Coach, quickly on the Rams here, again, this article from The Athletic, the other thing that won't really show up in the stats or on the film, but the writer here is saying that the Rams in the past couple of years have been unusually helped by their overall team health, in that they haven't had the rash of injuries that you usually see with teams in the NFL. So perhaps some regression to the mean as far as their injury luck is concerned. They had a couple of high-profile injuries. Cooper Kupp, standout wide receiver for them, and obviously the big question mark of their offense is Todd Gurley. But we're talking about a team that have relied on the fact that they've, for the most part, have had everybody healthy. Not a whole lot of other teams can really say that, so that might be something to keep our eye on too.
You bet it will be. I've still got some serious doubt. I hope that it's not true, but I've got some serious doubt about Gurley, whether he's still injured or not. With that knee, that's something that's tough to come back from. He certainly shape at the end of the year and down through the playoffs and the Super Bowl. He was hurt now. He's not had any serious surgery or any type repair job that we've heard of. So maybe through physical therapy and a strict routine, maybe he's got it back, his full use of that leg, but that could be a real problem for him.
Absolutely right, and the Rams seem to think so as well. At least in they may not say it, but in terms of the actions that they've made, they re-signed Mike Anderson, the running back who kind of led the way towards the end of the season into the playoffs, and then they also traded up for Darrell Henderson in the draft in the 3rd round. So adding some running back depth just in case Gurley's knee may not be completely 100%. We'll go ahead and take a timeout. Coming up, we'll dive into the New Orleans Saints and the Philadelphia Eagles, the other two of the primary NFC threats coming up, both of which started training camp today. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 94.5. We'll be back in a moment.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
All right, it's time for some straight talk. You wouldn't pay $100 for seats to a baseball game where you can get the same seats for $50. So why pay more on your wireless when you can get the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost? For $45 a month, get our unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data from Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Today, business happens here, and virtually anywhere. Because today, innovative companies are reinventing the way business happens. And they need people who can keep up. With the expertise and technology to get packages to over 150 million delivery points. So, who can help you deliver the future of commerce? The United States Postal Service. See why we deliver more e-commerce packages to homes than anyone at USPS.com/future.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
Talk football with Coach K on a Thursday. Joe Ford and Coach K with you, diving into the NFC, a wide open NFC, as many as 11 teams, all but 4 have a legitimate shot at making their way to the Super Bowl, and we're going through the primary contenders a little bit, maybe tomorrow or a little bit next week. We'll dive into the rest of the NFC as we're making our way through training camp. The first NFL preseason game is a week from tonight. Got the Denver Broncos and the Atlanta Falcons, who will be in Canton for the Hall of Fame game. And Coach, we ran through the Vikings, who you think could be in that first tier of Super Bowl contenders out of the NFC. Got a good look at them, getting a good look at the Los Angeles Rams. A couple others here. The New Orleans Saints, local team. A lot of talent offensively. They've really improved defensively, especially their defensive personnel over the last couple of years. And it seems like an annual tradition at this time. Is this the year where Drew Brees starts to show signs of regressing? So far, hasn't been that way. And there's no reason to think he won't continue to flourish in New Orleans with Sean Payton again this year.
That's the way I would call it. I certainly think he's going to have a fine year, have another good year. That's just Drew Brees. He's not going to play unless he's playing at a high level. And, the things that are going to be different with the Saints, obviously, they won't have the running back by committee anymore, at least one of the major factors there. And Kamara will be the featured back all the way, which means he's going to carry more of a load. Can he do that? He's certainly a great football player, and I don't know that he's built to carry the ball 30 times a ball game, 25 times a ball game, and be as responsive to the passing game as he is. But we'll find out about that. The other thing that is going to be a little different for New Orleans is they really need, I think they need another, maybe not number one. Thomas is the number one receiver, but they need somebody else that can take some of the load off him as Drew Brees gets to this point in his career. I really think they need to do that, but and I don't see that they have addressed that unless there's something there that we don't know about that'll show up in camp.
It's interesting because you talked about Kamara, and then you talked about really wanting to take the load off Michael Thomas, and Kamara's role, I think, has been half running back, but kind of half of that number two wide receiver to kind of take away some of the pressure, because Kamara in his own right is a dynamic pass catcher that defenses have a really hard time keying on. And Coach, about Kamara, there is no Mark Ingram. He's with the Baltimore Ravens. They did sign Latavius Murray from the Minnesota Vikings, but I think you're right, though, because I don't see Kamara as the 30-touch guy. I don't think the Saints want him to be the 30-touch guy anyway. I think you do see an uptick in his rushes, but I don't think they're going to let themselves get into a situation where Kamara is taking the load on a full-time basis, that three-down type of back, because I think they have a guy in Latavius Murray that can fill that Mark Ingram role, but I think you're right. This is Alvin Kamara's backfield moving forward. And as far as the defense goes, because the defense has been pretty good in recent years, I think for Sean Payton's tenure, the Saints defense has maybe been looked down upon, partially because the offense has been so good, but the Saints are really trying to build a defense to match their offensive production. They found themselves an absolute gem in Marcus Lattimore on one side of the cornerback spot, and then they traded for Eli Apple. And this, again, reading from The Athletic here, who's putting this article together, the 10 games that Apple started after the Saints traded for him, the Saints defense was 6th in the league against the pass. So they saw something in him, and now that a full season with Apple and Lattimore at the corners, especially in an NFC division where you've got Cam, you've got Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, you've got the Buccaneers now with Bruce Arians calling the shots there. they're gonna be relied upon in a big way.
Well, I would agree with the thought on Kamara again. I just don't see him being able to increase his run game load and also continue to be as productive in the passing game. But having said that, I really think they need another receiver type. I tell you what they need. They need a guy like an Edelman. Which, by the way, Edelman does have a broken finger and broken thumb, but he will be. They say he will be ready for the first game. But it's probably better to keep him at 33 years old. Probably better to keep him out of the preseason anyway. But back to the Saints. Defensively, you talk about New Orleans defensively, and it's really been terrible. They've been terrible defensively over many years. Just the last couple of years, have they become an extremely productive defense, and they have. That has been their trademark now. So when you combine that with their offense, as potent as their offense is, it makes them for one of the top. They're in the top 2 or 3 teams in the league, no doubt about that. So I see them still being right up there, Joe, at the top of the league with maybe a couple more teams. But I'm really concerned about them getting that other receiver in there to help Breeze.
And a couple names to keep your eye on. Obviously, Ted Ginn, he's been there forever, or been in the league forever, been in New Orleans for a couple seasons. They did get Cameron Meredith. He had injuries last year, but you're right, that is a spot of concern for New Orleans. And the third major contender that we're looking at here in the NFC is the Philadelphia Eagles, now 2 seasons removed from their Super Bowl championship. And like we talked with the Rams about how the injury bug was they really avoided that the past couple of years. Well, it was the exact opposite for the Philadelphia Eagles, as they were dead last in the league in adjusted games lost due to injuries. A nice sabermetric stat for you there. But injuries hit them hard. Obviously, the biggest one is Carson Wentz. He's now back healthy. And, Coach, on the offensive side of the ball, talk about weapons. You've got Alshon Jeffrey. They got Deshaun Jackson back. They have Aguilar, Zach Ertz, and Dallas Goedert in the middle of the field. If Carson Wentz, if they can keep him upright, and if the offensive line issues have been addressed, watch out.
You're not kidding. I tell you, this is a good Philadelphia football team, and they haven't been so far removed from the Super Bowl that they've lost that taste in their mouth for having won it all. Now, I like this football team for a number of reasons. One, I like the way they're coached. I think they're exceptionally well coached. Their techniques are good. These are things that you notice from as an ex-coach you would notice as you watch a ball game. But I think they use extremely relative type protections, meaning that the patterns that they throw are backed up by the appropriate protection. Sometimes you see people take too many chances with dogs and blitzes and not totally protect the quarterback. I think they do. Now they had a little problem with their offensive line last year, but I think they addressed that in the draft. I think they probably drafted the best tackle in the draft this past year, who will step in as a starter. But I really believe this is a good football team. They're good defensively. I think they're exceptionally well equipped up front. Their front seven. They can run. So you're not going to beat them with a faster team, and they have the size and the strength to stay in there with the bruiser teams. They have a good quarterback. I like Wentz, as we talked about. I think they do have some offensive weapons, and they know how to run the football. Listen, this is a good football team. They can play with anybody, and I certainly think they'll be at the top of their division and be right in the playoff hunt.
And Coach, really quickly before we take a break, the one area of concern that's pretty glaring is the fact that, hey, if Wentz were to go down again, which he has the past couple of seasons, not having a true and trusted backup, as Nick Foles is in Jacksonville now. So, Coach Peterson, if there's one thing that he's probably losing sleep over right now, it's the fact that it's really imperative, just like for any team, but it's really imperative to make sure that Wentz stays upright and not on the sidelines.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And they could do a little better job with him. It's certainly just his natural ability is going to create. There are going to be times when he's going to take off with the football. That's just part of his makeup, his total physical ability. But they need to school him on how and when to get down, and when to step out of bounds, and when to do some of the other things that'll save some hits from his body. I think I really like Wentz. I think, by the way, he's a courageous young man and a great competitor. But listen, he can throw the football. He throws the football very, very well, get it down the field. And I've also seen him drop it in, put the dime on him downfield, drop it down the chimney. So I like him. I like him a lot.
So, in Coach, your estimation, we're looking at 4 teams kind of in that top echelon of NFC contenders: the Vikings, the Saints, the Eagles, and the Rams. So that sounds really good. And of course, over the next day and into next week, we will certainly be going down the rest of the NFC teams and also looking at the AFC teams as training camp is in full swing for the NFL. We'll take a quick break. Coming up, talking some college football, including one interesting proposal that the Pac-12 is saying in order to get more teams on TV. We'll talk about that next. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on a Thursday, ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
If you have frequent heartburn, take control of it with Prilosec OTC instead of stashing antacids everywhere, like in your junk drawer, buried under old batteries and hotel pens, or in your purse, hiding in the one pocket you won't check. You even have antacids on your nightstand, which are very hard to see in the dark. It's time you stopped stashing antacids and started taking Prilosec OTC. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn.
It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days, not for immediate relief.
When the sand gets hot, you gotta move fast, like a dog chasing a Frisbee. Move just as fast to the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Because for the first time ever, you can get 20% estimated savings on select Ford vehicles. Plus, earn complimentary maintenance through Ford Pass Rewards. Don't let this hot deal on America's best-selling brand pass you by. Get into the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. based on 2010 through 2018 calendar year sales. Modem must be activated within 60 days of purchase through the Ford Pass app on a smartphone and remain active for at least 6 months after activation. Eligible on select 2019 model year vehicles. Vehicle must have arrived at dealer at least 61 days prior to the sale date. Estimated savings include an average dealer discount based on a sales survey of average discounts offered by Ford dealers nationally. Discount may vary. Dealer determines price. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 9/3/19. See participating dealer for complete details.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K. Happy Thursday to you. If you want to call or text us, if you want to weigh in on anything that we are discussing on the show, our number 972-1945. Again, that is 972-1945. And Coach, before we dive into some college football, just a couple of quick notes that we didn't get to discuss at length, but are notable nonetheless. One of which is we talk about continuity in the NFL, and the Steelers are probably the golden rule on that, as since 1969 they have had 3 head coaches. There was some thought that Mike Tomlin may be on the hot seat heading into this season. A lot's going to ride on Ben Roethlisberger now without Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, but the Steelers are kind of nixing any talk of hot seat, because today they are giving him an extension until 2021. So, Coach, just talk about how important the stability is and continuity with football teams, and just how the Steelers have really just been able to buck the trend that sees teams go through cycles of coaches every couple of years.
Oh, it's so important to winning and success to have the continuity. And listen, let me tell you, if you keep changing coaches, players will absolutely lose respect for guys coming in 1 and 2 and 3 year spurts. They just can't do it. There's some interesting examples of this, Joe. If you go back, one of the greatest is if you go back to the Dallas Cowboys when they first started, 1960, and they brought in Tom Landry, and they didn't fare very well. In fact, they didn't win a ball game the first year. I think they won 1 ball game the second year, and maybe they won another ball game the third year. It was really, really rough, and people were calling for his head. And the owner at the time called a news conference, a press conference, and everyone thought this was a press conference to fire Tom Landry. And he called the press conference to announce that he had just signed Tom Landry to a new 10-year contract as coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And from there, it went uphill, and the rest is a story known by all. But that is a great example of providing the continuity and the type atmosphere that you want on a football team.
And interestingly enough, the guy that ended up replacing him, he didn't do so hot in his first year in Dallas either, as Jimmy Johnson went 1-15, and who knows what the Cowboy dynasty looks like if Jerry has a quick trigger finger. And that's something that you got to give Jerry Jones credit for, is Jason Garrett has seemingly been on the hot seat his entire career, a couple of postseasons mixed in, but Jimmy has always been a guy to show patience, at least when it comes to coaching staffs, and that's certainly a couple of good prime examples. And as we change gears now, looking at the world of college football, Coach, you know, and I've heard this said before, but athletes and especially coaches in the world of professional sports and college sports, they like their routine, and they don't like a whole lot of changes to that routine. And the Pac-12, they're going through their media days this week, and one of the more interesting things that Commissioner Larry Scott had to say is that athletic directors and some of the networks are talking about ways that they can get more games in the 12 o'clock Eastern windows. And for that, being in the Pacific coast, we're talking about 9 o'clock start times, 10 o'clock if your team's like Utah in the mountain time zone. But I can't see myself waking up at 6 o'clock to get to a 9 o'clock football game and being in the same type of peak performance condition that I otherwise would be later. Is this got any traction to it, you think, or is this just a lot of talk about nothing?
You know, I'm not sure. I know that they would like to get more exposure back east, and they're well aware of the fact that they maybe miss out on quite a bit in the way of publicity and maybe rankings and whatever by not having that exposure. But you're right. I mean, you got to get kids up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, even before that, we usually did pregame meal. 3 hours, at least 3 hours, 3.5 hours before game time. We had pregame meal. There was a reason for that our doctors and dietitians and trainers felt that was the ideal time to do it, to maximize the performance level. Well, you know, you would have to actually get them up to stay within that time frame. You'd have to get them up about 4:30, 5 o'clock to get to a 5:30, to get them up and awake into a 5:30 breakfast or pregame meal. And then what would they be? Usually you like, after pregame meal, you like to have the breakdown meetings with the different groups, the backs, the receivers, the linemen, and all of them in different groups with their coach to go over last-minute game planning and preparation. Well, you're not going to be in very good shape to sit there and do that, having probably had little sleep the night before, because it's tough to get to bed the night before a ball game. That's the other factor. The night before a ball game, it's not easy just to lay down and go to sleep. You're thinking about a million different things, and there's the anticipation and so on. So anyway, I don't see how they can do that. I know they'd like to do it for the reasons that we talked about, but I'm not sure you can do that to the players.
Yeah, in addition to the players, and keeping in mind getting this information from CBS Los Angeles saying that any morning kickoffs would not be dictated by the networks, but it would be voluntary. So you would have to have teams saying, yeah, we're willing to do this. And I don't think we're talking about marquee games, which leads me to my overall point. In addition to what you're saying about just the impacts and effects that it has on coaches and players, I just don't see the optics of this looking very good, because you're not going to have games like USC and Oregon or USC Washington, contending teams like that. They're not going to be playing these games at 9 o'clock. We're talking about the, kind of like the cream puff games at the beginning of the season. Yeah, maybe some lower level conference games, but I just don't see the optics of this being very good. Almost like, the Pac-12 being a kind of a step below the other leagues, in that they have to go to these measures to get on TV at a certain time. And, the crowd's just not really into it. I question whether just the number of people in the stadiums would be that great, especially in bigger towns like Los Angeles. I mean, I can't imagine you're going to get anybody going to the LA Coliseum in Los Angeles for a 9 o'clock kickoff between UCLA and, whoever state. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I agree. That's the other thing, too, that your crowds are certainly going to be affected adversely with a 9 a.m. start time. So, gosh, I can't see it logistically. I can't see it. Now they may feel they got all the numbers and so on. They may feel that the numbers trump what is perceived to be a very difficult situation. They may feel that the numbers just outweigh anything that could happen on the backside, on the flip side. So we'll see what happens. I doubt that that's going to go anywhere. Plus the fact that people back east say, what games would you even want to see at noon back east when you're waiting for the SEC, ACC, other ball games to come on about that time? What Pacific Coast game would you want to see that would be that important?
Right. No, I absolutely agree. I think there's talk about this, but I think it's just one of those that hopefully common sense prevails. Now, you can question whether this would be common sense or not. People have their opinions if this is a good idea or not. This offseason, a lot of the SEC teams are and universities are approving the sale of alcohol inside the stadium. Usually that's been a no-no, at least from what I can tell, schools down south. But now that we're trying to improve the fan experience, we're trying to improve the overall atmosphere. LSU coach is joining the list of teams recently that have announced that they will be adding alcohol sales. So Death Valley kind of stands on its own as a college football atmosphere, especially at night. Well, it's going to get a lot more atmosphere, if you want to put it that way, on night games in Death Valley.
You bet. And if any place had alcohol sales available to them, that would be the most applicable situation there in Baton Rouge. But having said that, I don't mean that literally. I really think that this is a condition brought on by what we've been talking about in the last few days, Joe, the terrible economic problems that colleges and universities are going through because of the exorbitant pricing that is now in place and that people have to put up with. I just think that there's anything that they can think of to bring in another dime, they're going to do it. That's why you're getting this. There could be some other crazy ideas that come down the pipe. Just anything to generate revenue.
And just a couple of tidbits here from the article, if folks are wondering. One of the things is that the student sections will not be included in this. The concession stands near the student section will not be permitted to sell beer and wine. There's no vendors that go up and down the aisles near the seats. They will not be equipped to sell alcohol. Also, fans, the service to fans will be cut off at the end of the third quarter of games. So LSU doing what they can to enhance the overall experience of the stadium, but you also have to be smart about it too. And it seems like LSU is taking the necessary steps there. We'll come back here in just a moment, and of course we all know the strengths of the top contenders for college football's national title, but what about the biggest weaknesses that some of these teams have? We'll dive into that next. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K. It's a Thursday, ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
The Home Depot Days of Doing Bath and Kitchen event is going on now, with everything you need to let the savings flow. Like the Moen Genta 4-inch faucet in brush nickel finish for just $99. It combines a contemporary modern design with a spot-resistant finish for a beautifully clean look in your bathroom. Today is the day for doing and stylish updates at the Home Depot Days of Doing Bath and Kitchen event going on now. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Offer valid through October 5th while supplies last.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every dollar spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
Talk football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 94.5. The number to call or text us 972-1945. Last segment before we get out of here and look ahead to another Friday. And as we're one day closer to the start of the college football season and 1 week away from the start of NFL preseason, so we are full go, full speed ahead, ready to go and talk about some actual football games. And credit where credit's due. This tweet from Nick Petrowitz with the Toledo Blade. Coach, I think you'll appreciate this. It is a fun but true fact that the college football season cannot legally start until all 105 players from every team have been named to a preseason watch list. Certainly feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, I'm not particularly fond of that either.
I think you were just named to the preseason top quarterback list, if I'm not mistaken. So that's how crazy these things are. But it's all in good fun. It's a way to generate some headlines, generate some excitement for the new season. And Coach, talking about we looked at some of the top contenders in the NFC earlier this hour, and for the last 5 minutes or so, looking at the premier contenders, especially in the SEC here, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, teams that really, if things break their way, have a legitimate shot at going to the national championship game. But want to focus not so much on the strengths, but what are the areas of concern that could creep up, maybe the Achilles heel that hasn't manifested itself, but maybe things that you saw from last year. And we'll start with Alabama, Coach. There's depth all over the place. Obviously, as any football factory, you're going to have to replace some guys. Where might the concerns creep in for the Crimson Tide?
Well, there would be a concern, obviously, if they can't keep Tua healthy. I think that's the biggest downside right now. as you remember last year, Joe, his productivity fell off some as it got closer and closer to the end of the year from about mid-season on because he got hurt. I think he got his knee hurt, not to the extent that it was totally debilitating, but it was a problem for him to make the throws and so on down the field. Now, and that can have the most impact on the football team that I could see right now. The other would be they got to be able to shore up their secondary. I think they will. Last year they were awfully young in the secondary. They obviously improved some as the year went on, but Clemson really put a blueprint out there in the championship game as to how to attack Alabama and what types of routes and patterns gave them problems in the secondary. I'm sure this is a concern of Saban's, and I think he will take more of a hands-on himself with that secondary this year. So those are the two things that I could see that could be a problem for Alabama.
Yeah, and no Jalen Hurts around as he's transferred to Oklahoma. Looking at the Georgia Bulldogs, Coach, the big question, they have the NFL prospect in Jake Fromm, but who's going to catch passes from him?
They have one, his name escapes me now. They have one receiver that is well versed, I think, and is a good receiver, very good receiver. I'm not sure about the depth. I haven't seen the Georgia football team. I did not see their spring game. Did not get all that much feedback other than the fact in talking with scouts, there's not anything that they feel that is a major problem that Georgia's going to be facing. And they really, really like what this Fromm kid does from a quarterback standpoint and how important that is, certainly in the college game, and how much of it he's picked up. So I have not heard anything about there being a deficiency there, and I've not really heard anything about it being a strength either. But I would have to think they're going to be okay there.
And reading from 247 Sports here, I believe the wide receiver you're referring to, Jeremiah Holloman, he was dismissed during the summer. So he's no longer on the team. And the other concern defensively for Georgia is, according to 247 Sports, they finished 116th nationally in tackles for loss per game. And so that's a concern when you're talking about going up against the quarterbacks that they're going to have to go against to get to the title, the Tuas, the Trevor Lawrence's of the world. So maybe some issues creeping up there. But again, we're very excited now, under a month to go from the start of the college football season. Coach, any last thoughts here before we get out of here?
No, I just there's so much going on right now. It's difficult to get it all in. And we do ask people to call our number with any questions, anything that you might want to chat about. We'd like to have you involved in the program.
All right, Coach, that'll do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow, ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Home and away all season. Plus all the latest Wahoo's news from Chad Brilliante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
From coast to coast, the Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.